Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are streaming in from. My name is John Edwards, and you are watching or listening to another episode of Hide and Seek Paraquest. Joining me this evening is some very special guests, actually international guests, should I say, who are quite give us some of their special time to have a chat with us. So without further ado, let's welcome Chris and Adam from Haunted Scouse. How are you, fellas?
Hi, John. Great, thanks, mate.
Hi, mate. Not too bad. We prefer Adam and Chris. It's just,
I remember that one. But first of all, fellas, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Obviously we've been trying to do this for a while now, but we finally got there. So for all the hide and seekers out there, again, this is Haunted Scouse. Please do me a favour, jump on their YouTube. They've got over 130 fantastic episodes you can watch. So yeah, do me a favour, hide and seekers, jump on over and show the support by like, share and subscribing to their channel. So fellas, first of all, obviously tell the hide and seekers who you are and where you come from.
Go on, Mr. Billing.
Hi, my name's Adam. I'm a member of Haunted Scouse, and we're from Liverpool in the UK. I'm just over the River Mersey on the Wirral.
Yeah, and I'm Chris. I'm the elder statesman of Haunted Scouse. So I'm the brains. He's the, I'd say, beauty, but decide that for yourself.
Well, there you go. So, how long have you been doing paranormal research for?
I think we've both had an interest all our lives for it. And it's quite apt to speak to another Scouser. We have the same kind of thing where we say everyone goes back to most haunted, and hearing Derek Akora's voice, the late great Derek Akora, and not having heard too many Scousers on TV on anything that were nicking a car or some kind of stereotype. All of a sudden, here is a really interesting show, and pivotal to it was Derek Akora. And I know we both spoke about how that kind of, it draws you in. Then it's okay, I'm interested. What's this all about?
Absolutely. And you mentioned Most Haunted, and I think they've got around 20 plus series. They've been going for quite some time now. Whether they were truth to themselves, well, that's obviously up for debate. But either way, they were very successful, and I think they were the catalyst to for all these paranormal investigators creating their own show. Because some of the places they went to, it was just like, I've got to get there and investigate it for myself. It's very contagious.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from my point of view, from it, it's exactly the same as Chris there, and watching programs like that were putting these locations sort of in the public eye to either go and visit and go and have a little look for yourself. I think there's always that sort of fine balance in the paranormal between the history, the paranormal, and the entertainment factor. So for me, it was more, what you're watching is how believable is this? Is it, it started off, I think, really quite interesting to the point it gets to later episodes and there's chairs and tables and all kinds getting lashed around. You think, right, okay, is there any truth to this? There's only sort of one way to find out, and that's just to get out there and do it yourself. And that's sort of how our channel was born.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And it's one of those things where, it always comes up in conversation, do you believe in the paranormal? After the room will and after the room won't, and you think you're mental for believing in it. And it's like it's like anything really. You don't believe in it until you physically see it yourself. So that curiosity just kills the cat basically. Now going back to your YouTube channel, you got over 136 episodes on there, and the fantastic episodes, by the way.
Thank you.
Now You got Northwich Plaza, which has got over 3,500 views. I'll start with you,
I'm
Adam.
not even in that one, by the way.
I noticed that one. Yeah, you took a sick day. I'll start
It's
with
a
you.
sore point, that. Yeah.
I'll quickly move on then. But I'll start with you, Adam. Which one is your favourite out of the 136 episodes, and why?
Wow. Yeah, that is a tricky one. I mean, there's so many different sort of episodes on there, and I think just before I say that, I think that the way that Chris and I had when we had a discussion about how we sort of wanted to create the channel and how we wanted to sort of film, we did sort of try and adopt that most haunted approach where we were trying to get as many different sort of cameras and lock-offs and different sort of shots of places to film. So, you know, we're one of the very rare YouTube channels out there that do actually film in night vision. And we do have multiple lock-offs. So at any one point, we've got about 4 or 5 different cameras set up and 2 handheld cameras as well. So we try and offer, you know, so much to the viewer to kind of join in and be along the investigation with us, and to be as transparent as well as we can, because obviously, you know, in this game, if you know, you're nothing without your credibility, really. So it took a while to, you know, really build up that and create that sense of trust with the people that watch us, that know that, you know, it's not, we don't smoke and mirrors anything. We're just 2 very honest guys, you know, who do this as a hobby, that want to sort of bring it into the public eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. I mean, that's, to go back to what Adam just said then about the multiple cameras. It's like, we started off outside, and obviously you can't do the lock-offs and everything, but we started to build this little, we, you know, invested in all this kit. We had, like, even the first episode ever is 1 camera each, and then all of a sudden we purchased the 3rd.
Yeah.
But when you're outdoors, you can't put a lock-off anywhere. So I think, like, the first big episode for us, and I always go back to this one, and it's one that Most Haunted have done, notoriously done, was Walton Hall, and in Walton in Liverpool. And that's the first time when we were able to say, right, tripods, lock off camera, let's see what we can do. And we often go back to that one, John, because it was a pivotal moment for Haunted Scouse, because we went from what we thought was creating quality episodes outside. Suddenly we were in this huge mansion house all on our own, no electricity, and not an abandoned one. It was a permission visit as well. So we parked up, we got let in, we got locked in and everything like that. So it was a legitimate filming experience. But for the first time, we were able to discuss what camera angles we use and really go for what Adam's just described then, which was to create something. And we don't worry about viewing figures, because if we did, we'd stop tomorrow, because we put so much effort in. Yeah. A Halloween special, you know, we do overnights, and we pay for a location, and we use 6, maybe 7 cameras, 50 odd hours of footage, create a 2.5 hour episode, and it still hasn't got to 1,000 views. So if we did it for views, we wouldn't do it anymore. But as Adam said, using all those multiple cameras, Walton Hall was a pivotal one, because some of the evidence we captured actually got us onto TV. But because we had the cameras covering where we were, they actually bigged up the evidence we captured even more, because it was like, we can see where Chris is, we can see where Adam is, and there's an extra camera that's showing where we both are, and it made it more credible.
Yep, 100%. And, you know, you touch base on, you know, all start with 1 camera, you know, as we all did. But what people really need to understand is, you know, to do a location, you know, it's not a matter of picking up the phone and booking it. It's the hours planning. Then you go there, you got 3, 4, 5, 6 cameras or whatnot. Next minute, you've got 50 to 100 hours of footage that you've actually got to physically go through to make sure you don't miss even an EVP, a shadow, or something. And, you know, it's a full time in itself, getting the episode ready. But I just say, having that multiple camera angle, it does, it invites the subscriber or the viewer in to actually then, that credibility is huge, because as you know, in our industry, once you lose that reputation, it's gone. you know, and it's very hard to obviously get that back.
Most definitely, and I think you know, we try and coin the phrase para-unity as much as we can, but you know, that there are certain individuals out there that will sort of tarnish what everybody else is doing, and you know, Chris and I this is a hobby. We've both got full-time jobs. We've both got lives outside of this, so we just do it as just kind of a love of history with linked in with the paranormal, and it started off very, very small with a couple of friends and family subscribing, and it's grown to, you know, nearly 3,000 subscribers. And, you know, TV have been knocking on the door, and, you know, local papers, radio stations, every Halloween we're really busy. So it's, yeah, for a little hobby, it has kind of really overtook definitely part of our lives.
100%. 100%. And as you said there, you know, you've got 3,000 subscribers. You know, to get to that point takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of patience as well. I think all our dream is so that we can, you know, get as much subscribers as possible so we can actually do it full time, which I'll touch base on a little bit later on. And that brings me to the next point about your channel. You know, for the past 12 months, your channel has just gathered momentum really, really well. What do you think the reason is behind that? Is it because you've introduced more cameras, or you're getting more scary locations? Why do you think you've grown so quick in the past 12 months?
I think I'm on camera more, aren't I? So.
Yeah, that was the key. About 12 months ago, Adam went to Northwich without me, and we've never looked back. But do you know what I think it is, John? I think because we've got to know more people in the paranormal world as well, and they're only small teams like ourselves. I say small, I mean, you're talking 5, 10 and up to like 30, 40,000 subscribers, but in the grand scheme of things, everyone's got a day job and goes out and does this as a hobby. And we do a couple of events a year, and it's primarily, it gets we called it the Haunted Scouse family. We get them together and they've all become friends now, and we've got a very tight-knit community of people who attend almost every event, and there's like 15, maybe 20 of them now that are there all the time.
Yeah.
So they've all got an interest in the same paranormal groups. And I think that's why, because we've had a couple of other paranormal teams. I mean, one thing we're most proud of is we proved that Manx and Scousers can be friends, because you know, got a wonderful young lady, Amy, who does Shadow Hunters UK TV, and you've got a Moxley as well, another Manchester guy.
Yeah.
And they came along to us in St Helens to Mill Street Barracks at an event there, and everyone was made up. They turned up late, so the lights were off. And then when the lights came on for the break, all of a sudden Amy and Moxley are sat there. We never got acknowledged all night. Then it was like, oh my God, see ya, we're over here. Thanks for the coffee and the biscuits. But we've put ourselves out there to get to know as many of these people as possible. And I think that is why we've grown. Other channels, fans cross over them, and they see that you're all doing it for the same reason.
100%.
Yeah, I just want to obviously add to that, because I know Chris won't say, because he does the edits, but if you look at sort of our first video on the channel compared to sort of what we are doing now, in those sort of 2.5 years, you know, just sort of the quality and the in-depth discussions that we have about how we film and how we want an intro to look and where we want a camera place, and it just the quality's there for all to see, really. You know, you could put it on TV and it will match up with a lot of the other stuff that's obviously out there. Yeah. You know, we feel really strongly about that with sort of how we go about it, and the discussions that we have, and the way Chris edits it all, because Chris is the one that does all this on his in his spare time that he has a lot of that he won't say. Yeah, it's a said, it's brilliant. So I think, as well as obviously that fan base as well that have come with us, I think just, you know, clicking on an episode, one of the latest few that we've done, and sort of seeing the intros, the angles and things, it speaks for itself.
For sure. And as Chris said, you know, like I started doing this back, I started back in 2005. And over in Australia, it weren't very common. So we had basically National Trust buildings of Victoria. We were going around all them. And then, you know, that was before YouTube and Facebook or everything else. So there was no social media. And we were, you know, we were at our website. And I think back then it was MySpace or something. Yeah, MySpace. Yeah. And we put on there, and, you know, we'd have 60 people book us out in like half an hour. It was unbelievable. And then when the other group started coming, they were very territorial. You're like, oh, do you want to come across and do it? Oh, no, we're okay. We've got our own. But the difference is now, as Chris said, we actually all work together. So, you know, there's one that I've been working with quite closely for the past 2 months. I've already started getting back into it for the past, 4 or 5 months now. You know, we took a long break to raise a family and whatnot, and obviously work commitments got in the way. So yeah, with the whole paranormal community now, well, some of them do actually work quite well. Obviously there's been a lot of drama on the old YouTube platform the past month or so. But you know, we leave that to them, not getting involved in that one. But yeah, certainly
enough, I mean, one of our good fans, Caroline, has dropped me a message tonight, and I won't name the channels involved, but again, it just shows we've got such a caring community in our Haunted Scouse family.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone looks out for each other. And Caroline messaged me and said, this poor guy on this YouTube channel that she follows, you know, God love him, someone else has called them out and called them a fake. Yeah. So I went away and had a little look at it again. I won't name the channels, but she was right. This poor fella's nearly in tears. He's worked hard. He's just coming up to nearly 2,000 subscribers. So he's doing something right. He's got his audience.
Yeah.
But someone else is one of them ones. He's a paranormal investigator, but he does the reaction videos for everyone else's and calls them out and says, that's fake. And it's, oh, come on, just you're a paranormal investigator. Just enjoy doing what you do. And if you think someone's faking it, unsubscribe, switch it off. Why is there got to be that tiny minority? But then they spoil it for everybody else because, you know, that person whose video he's saying is fake ends up starting to get a dog's life then off some people. Yeah. When all they're doing, they're taking their spare time to go out and film something, and as you said, edit it. And it's, we've got no time for any of that. And luckily, nobody's come at us yet. And I'm looking forward to it when they do, because they can have 50 hours of raw footage to watch through if they want to try and debunk anything we do. But the multiple cameras, we try and debunk everything anyway, John. And that's the thing. If we can debunk it in the moment, we'll show it. Yeah. We'll show the reaction. And then if 2 minutes later we go, it was that, that'll be in the episode as well, because what have you got to lose?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that gives you more credibility.
I'm quite a healthy skeptic, as I describe myself. I know Chris has had things sort of happen to him and obviously in his life as well, but I'm still sort of waiting for that one moment, or that's something that is really going to go, do you know what, I think there is more to this. So if there's a noise or if there's a door closing, you know, I'll be there for half an hour trying to reenact that. And Chris is again, we'll have that on camera, just sitting there watching me trying to prop the door open and blow it over, and, you know, trying to make sure it is real and genuine as it is, because that's the whole reason why I got into this, was to try and prove or disprove that, you know, there is something or more to it. So
100%.
Well, I when we were on telly, Kieran O'Keefe actually commented, the guy that used to be with the parapsychologist, used to be with Most Haunted.
Yeah.
He actually commented when we were on Unexplained Caught on Camera season 3, that exact scene Adam's just describing, where the door closes on a lock-off 3 times in Walton Hall, and it does it while we're stood there as well with 2 cameras and filming Adam. And Kieran O'Keefe actually said it's brilliant that the guys try to recreate it. We call it my Tigger moment. I was jumping up and down on the spot trying to vibrate the floor to shut it, and it didn't. And he gave us greater credibility because we didn't just go, that's paranormal. We did our best to debunk it, push the door back to the open position, and then left it at that.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when, you know, when you went downstairs and then you came back up and it was closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
that's
you put,
one
and
of
then
my favourite moments, that when Adam goes through all this, and as he said, healthy skeptic, But that was going into that episode. I remember them saying to me before we started, I want this to be the night when something really me up,
Yeah.
so that I can experience the fear. And you can see it you can see his face on the camera when it, he's finished saying all the no's. You can see it when he's radio me. That's the point when it was like, I didn't need that door to be shut. It's a brilliant moment, but again, a lot of people also say, you watch other channels and someone would do that and the door would slam, and it'd be like the cameras would be on the floor and you just hear footsteps and them running out the building. And we're there to try to experience this. Yeah. Adam was obviously shaken up at that point, but he's right there in the moment, and doesn't run away from it. So that's what it's all about.
Oh, for sure. You're there to try and get the answers to your unknown, what so many people in search of. And you hear something, you get a response, and then you leave. It's just not worth it. That's not an investigation. But yeah, it's always. I actually watched that video that you just been referring to with the investigator yesterday. And
yeah,
then I watched his follow-up video as well. And this is why it's so important to stay true to yourself. I think the issue with that, about going into it too much, I think is that he shouted somebody out to shout out the episode. And
yes,
it's like, that's exactly. My way and everything else. But, that's why you stay true to yourself. Don't worry about what people are thinking. As long as you're putting the truth out there, you've got nothing to worry about.
That's it. I actually left the guy a comment as our channel, just a nice comment, just saying one of our guys sent us over and we just wanted to, show a bit of, didn't call out the other channel, just we just want to show a bit of para unity. Keep doing what you're doing, because 2,000 subscribers is not easy to get at all. We see so many social media messages on Facebook, John, and it's teams that are either losing the sense of we can do it, or there's the impatient ones. I'm putting all this effort in, why have I still only got 500 subscribers? Because you got to work at it. You've got to push and push and push, and one video will take you over 1,000. And we aim for 1,000 subscribers every 12 months, and so far we've hit that. So every Halloween we hope to hit the next 1,000 mark, and we're well on target for it this year.
Yeah, and and I just say it does take a lot of time and effort. And look, I'm sure you will get your 1,000 subscriber goal purely because of the content you're putting out there. And that comes back to, you stay true to yourself. The true followers of your community doesn't like. I would sooner go to a building and sit there for 4, 5, 6 hours and get nothing, then come back, do me edit, and start putting things in. Because if there's nothing there, you move on to the next location.
I think that's why we've got a really good balance there of going at it from the historical aspect. So, we try and present the building, the location, whatever it is, and give its history. So some people might just want to watch the first sort of 10, 15 minutes and just look at where we are, listen to the history, listen to those sort of stories, listen to the factual stories, listen to obviously the sort of paranormal stories to go with it. And then you might think, well, they're off, investigating now. I've had enough of that. I'll turn it off. Or some people might not like the history aspect and more just like the investigation side of it. So we try and have a bit of a fine balance there. So obviously when nothing does happen, which a lot of the time it doesn't, they've still got something to watch. And I think the way Chris and I go at it and work, and being sort of two Scousers and having that sort of Scouse humour and that Scouse banter, it is just Chris and I just taking the mick out of each other for like 95% of the episode. So, and I think people just kind of warm to that.
It's it's quite enjoyable to watch. Now, just on that, you said about obviously, we can be in some locations and get nothing. Obviously, you use quite a lot of different devices, whether it's a voice recorder or a REM pod or an app. Now, a lot of the panel investigators don't like using apps. I'm not a big fan of them, to be honest. What's your favourite device? I'll start with Adam.
I mean, there's lots of equipment that we've built up over time, and there's certain ones that you want to go, oh, we really want that, and we really want that, because, most other of these big teams seem to be using it. I've always loved the REM pod. They are very, very expensive, but we've built up enough sort of funds now that we've now got two of the more posher REM pods, shall we say, with the temperature gauge on. But you can go through all the apps and all the kit and all the cases, but I'll always say that your best sort of tool is just your eyes and your ears, because you could go to any sort of haunted place, any sort of haunted location, and it is just a matter of, before we put anything on, just sit here, just acclimatise, just listen, just watch. And I think the best evidence seems to happen when you are just sort of sitting patiently and just listening to the building or to the area or where you are. You can kind of bring all out the tools to entice or to try and make something happen. But I think if the so-called spirits out there want something to happen, or they will do something, it's when you sort of quiet and in the moment, wait for it.
100%. I always say, your own devices and your own sensors is the best device you can use by far.
Definitely.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, to touch back on the apps, it's like any kit that any paranormal investigator uses was not originally designed for paranormal investigators.
100%.
It's been like a REM pod. I forget the name of the musical instrument, but it was the musical instrument with no strings, where you made a note based on how close you went to it. That's where the REM pod came about. It was the electromagnetic field. What's that?
Is that the theremin, is it, or
something like that? Yeah, and but even with the apps, we use a few apps, and I mean the main one we use is Spirit Talker, which globally I think is the one that's up there.
Yeah.
But we use another one, and we have since the start. It doesn't speak the words. It's called Ghost Hunting Tools.
Yeah.
And what we like about that is it's only like £2.50 for the full version, but you can add to the vocabulary on it yourself. And that doesn't mean you're cheating, but it just means you buy the full version with 9,500 words in it. But if you want to add names, if you want to add numbers, if you want to add decades, if you want to add centuries, if you want to add cities, towns, anything like that, anything that you think is relevant to somewhere you might want to go, you're not cheating. You're just adding the vocabulary, because we're giving spirits the intelligence to, in the olden days, they might have left a pencil and a pad and said, can you scroll on there? Can you write your name? Or can you open that book onto a page? Yeah. So why do we not give spirits the intelligence of developing over time? It doesn't matter if they're from the 50s, 60s, or the 90s. We're saying to them, there are words in this device. So why are they saying Ghost Hunting Tools? It's not actually meant to be taken seriously. But yet we've had some results with that app that we can't explain that are just unbelievable. Just because the Spirit Talker actually speaks the words, but we've had nights with the Spirit Talker and you end up going, turn that off, we'll use something else.
Yeah.
So we try as many different ones as we can, but you tend to come back to the Spirit Talker, because when you're making a TV series or the Big Eddie TV series type show, having the vocal of the word being spoken it saves you having to show it to the camera all the time, and it becomes part of it. It's a third member of the team whilst you're using that app. So I think the apps get knocked by a lot of teams, but I think it's time more to embrace them, to be honest, because they're here to stay. And the technology in a mobile phone now is so good that they're using all these different sensors in there. That I mean, let's face it, most mobile phones, you can put your finger on the back and it can tell you what your heart rate is.
Yeah.
So if it's that sensitive and it's accurate, then they're actually beginning to become a REM pod type device, but it's in your pocket, and it's these really clever people are developing the apps to use all this technology now.
Absolutely. I think with the apps, it's good to sometimes like B-roll as well, to bring it out, just give you some more content on your episodes. A lot of people I've spoken to say they don't like it because obviously the words are in the back end and it could be programmed just to spit out any word randomly. But as we all know, sometimes you're asking questions and the responses you get from them, it is quite interesting.
Yeah. I think you've got to be quite quick and clever with them as well. we're lucky because we're both educated men. He's more educated than I am. I'll put that in there first. Obviously, being a teacher, but we can think on our feet, and that doesn't mean you're cheating. It just means words can come out, and we know what they mean. So we can see a direction that one word might have 3 different meanings. So we don't necessarily go to the one meaning. We can go, or did you mean? And then the next word might tie into what you just said, and you're back on course again. Sorry, Adam. I know.
No, I was just going to say, obviously, on that, one of our better ones using the Spirit Talk was when we were at Rake Lane Cemetery, and we walked down one of the paths, and we got a name come out of the app, which I'm sure Chris will tell me. Was it William first? Was it?
It was Charles first.
Charles. So Charles came out, and we were stood next to a grave with Charles on, which, okay, what are the chances? It's one of those things, a name, there's a grave. And then the next thing, about 30 seconds later, because Chris has left this whole, it's about 5-minute scene, and it is as is, basically. A few minutes later, we got William, was it?
Yeah.
So William came out, and William was next but one to Charles. So again, you can go argue, well, 2 very popular sort of, British names there, if you like, what are the chances? And then as Chris is holding his camera, he's pointing at one grave. And as we're talking about this on my camera as I'm pointing at Chris, the next name is
Margaret.
Margaret, that's the one. And the camera, the grave that Chris is pointing at on camera is Margaret, and it was directly behind William's grave. So, to sort of have that within the space of a couple of minutes, and you can say you could program these apps and you can do all of that and you can put this in, or it can read sensors and things. That sort of 5 minutes was just absolutely sort of jaw dropping, really, for us. To have that sort of sequence of events so quickly as well.
It was followed by the REM pod as well, and we put the REM pod down. As soon as that happened, we thought, right, hotspot. We spent 45 minutes in this 20 foot of space, and in the end we finished filming that section, went to walk to another part of the cemetery because we'd only been in there an hour, and then we both looked at each other and went, mate, that's it, that's the episode. We're going to try and chase something that's not going to be as good as that. And we still, because everything, as you've already said, John, because everything's kind of snowballed, we still haven't been back to do the follow-up everyone wants us to do. Because they literally saw us go down 2 paths, and then that was the end of the episode because so much happened.
For sure. And it's like when you were in Bolton Hall and come out with Richard. Was it Richard Molyneux or something?
Yeah.
So they are quite interesting. Again, it helps to capture that questionable evidence.
Well, again, it goes back to doing your homework, because that whole Walton Hall thing, very dear to me, because I've been to a couple of parties there in the past. So that one of the episodes I'm most proud of is that footage at the beginning of a couple of them episodes where I blend my old camcorder footage when I was 19, and it's the life and soul of it, and then it's just me and Adam, and I just drop the volume, and it's just me and Adam. In night vision, walking through the same rooms with just an eerie, like Titanic type feel to it. But we did our research on that, so the minute the name Richard came through, we knew of Richard Molyneux, and that's the best tip we ever give anyone who wants to go out and do this, is do your research. It's great when you come home and somebody else watches it or then tells you, oh, that Richard, well, did you know Richard Molyneux his family were the first ones in there? We already knew that. So it's when you come away from places and you find out little extra bits, it adds to it, you can put in post-edit. But it's, a top tip for anyone is do your research, because it's good to sound like you know what you're talking about at the moment it happens as well.
100%, I absolutely, completely agree. So, that sort of takes me on to my next question. Have you ever seen a ghost, a spirit, or a full-on manifestation? And what's your take on the whole spirit world? And why do you think it's so hard to actually catch the concrete evidence that no one can debunk on camera? I'll start with you, Chris.
Right, I mean, obviously the first time we met was me filming that episode for Ghost Quest, which was called My First Ghost Story, and that was about an area of Liverpool that you may or may not know, the Raleigh, John.
The Raleigh, yeah,
Yeah, and it's when I was 13, I was walking along there with one of my mates after school, and I saw, only realising later on, I'd seen the ghost of a little girl, because she came past me, looked real as anything, up this path, and when I turned round, she was gone. She hadn't disappeared round the corner. She literally had gone. And curiosity, we went up the embankment, got to the top of the embankment, and I vividly remember, because you know yourself, you can see for a mile either way when you go onto the Raleigh, because it was an old railway line.
Yeah.
And this little girl was nowhere to be seen, and it's like there was nowhere for her to go. But when you think back on it, it was only in subsequent weeks, and then you kind of forget about it. You're 13, it's nothing, and then later in life you start thinking about it again. And it was interesting to do that episode on the day I was filming with Ben, the guy who runs Ghost Quest. We bumped into someone walking his dog who asked what we were doing, and he's in the episode because he started telling us about, have you ever seen the ghost of the little girl? And we hadn't said anything, and straight away thought, right, you're getting on this episode if you don't mind, because it's credibility, or as I say about 10 times, credence.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky. I've seen 2 or 3 full-bodied apparitions. 2 of them, well, one of them was in the Epstein Theatre. Sadly, in the news here at the moment because it's closed down again.
Yeah.
But when you were here, it would have been the Neptune. It's so that's when I'd seen like what I would class as my second full-bodied apparition. So I class myself as very lucky. I know Adam's just he's dying to be in a room and something moves across that is a human figure, and there's nobody there when the light comes on. And I'm praying for the day when it happens, but you can capture these things on camera, and it depends if it could be a mist, but it's in the same place you've seen something. We got the ancient ram. We actually capture the full shadow figure going across the men's kitchen off a lock-off camera in the ancient ram. Some would probably call that out and say, well, prove it wasn't you two, because we didn't have a camera just through the door looking along. But that camera might not have picked it up. And this is the other problem you have. You can have 6 cameras in one room. One of them might just be pointing in the right direction, that the light captures it, and you see something. The next camera is coming from a different angle and doesn't.
Yeah, 100%. I've been fortunate that I've seen 4 manifestations, which it's very rare to see one. So I do class myself very fortunate. I've actually got one on my channel, which I'm not sure if you've seen or not. We were based in the old Melbourne jail, and we had a locked off camera right opposite the gallows. That was on the 3rd floor. No one was up there at all, because I didn't want to have any human contamination. And we done the investigation. We went home, and I was just going through the hours and hours of footage, and one of that locked off camera caught a full manifestation of a hanging. You should jump on. If you've ever seen it, jump on and have a look. It's absolutely amazing. And then you show people it, and they go, it's the camera light, or it's a flash. It's like, well, there's nothing there. There's actually nothing there for probably 4 hours. And the way it comes on the frame, you actually see it drop into the frame, and that's probably one of the most concrete evidence that I've caught. And then you can show 100 people, 50 would go, yeah, I believe it, and 50 would say, nah, it must be light, it's a camera angle. So yeah, if they don't believe, they don't believe, and and that's up to them as well. Completely
I think that's why it's obviously doing what we sort of do, where you've put your lock off there, and obviously being on that investigation, it's brilliant, but equally as frustrating, because you've controlled that environment. Nobody's gone up there. That you wouldn't have sort of threw anything in the edit there, because it happened with us at a pub called Peter Cabanas. And it was probably one of our first sort of big bits of evidence that we ever caught, that got us on again, unexplained caught on camera. And we had a music box that we put in one of the little snugs there with just one camera. There was only one way in and one way out at the little snug that was there. Chris wound up the music box and put it on the table, and then he left the room. And then obviously we carried on with the episode. And then it wasn't until Chris got home and obviously looked at the footage, the music box whilst playing actually moves, rotates, slides, moves, and it, over a period of about 2 minutes, it moves 3 times. And again, Kieran O'Keefe, who knew the pub and looked at the footage on Unexplained Caught on camera, said it is some of the best evidence because he intimately knows that pub, and there's there's only one way in, one way out. It slides away from the door and towards a window, which you can't obviously get access to. So in terms of a whole package, it really does sort of put out there, we couldn't explain it, could you?
Absolutely. And I guess, especially going back to the hanging got caught, with that, this was back in 2005, 2006, and even my cameras now, I still use mini DV. I haven't changed the SD card yet, and I've kept, especially the Melbourne Jail one, I've actually kept the original mini DV tape. I've got it in the drawer. So if anyone have said to me, "Oh, can I look at the actual tape?" I'm like, well, there you go. You can see that there's no post edit. it's on a tape.
Well, that's why I bought portable hard drives, John, because one of them is nearly full now, and it's 6 terabytes of storage. So we've just purchased another one, which is 5 terabytes, because I try not to get rid of any footage. So if we go out and do, like the likes of, we've just done 30 East Drive, and that's going to be this year's Halloween special. Awesome. And we used so many cameras in there. In the end, batteries were running out quicker than we could film things. We ended up having to downgrade the actual investigation to keep it so that we had 2 cameras going and enough batteries. But it's all that footage it's about 90 gigabytes of storage just for that one episode before I've even started looking at it. In fact, it might be even double that. It was humongous. So that's why we're the same. I try to make sure we keep everything, because I'm waiting for the day when someone tries to call us out, and I'm going to say, right, okay, I'll transfer you a file of 2 hours of footage, watch through it, and I want you to watch the 2 hours because I want you to bore the crap out yourself while you're getting up to that point on the hour mark when the shadow goes across the door, and then keep watching, and we still don't come down for another hour. And now tell us it was us that was in there, and it's that kind of thing, exactly the same as yourself, John. It's you protect yourself because you haven't cheated, you haven't edited something, you haven't put a little whispered voice in post edit or anything like that. It's you can build an audience without having to do all that.
Oh, absolutely, I completely agree. And as I said earlier, once you lose that reputation, it's gone. And it's very, very hard to get back. But just touch on that 30 East Drive. That's where I envy you guys so much, and what I miss about the UK. For instance, for the past 3 weeks, I've been organising new locations to go to. But Australia is huge. There's one I really want to go to, but it's a 19-hour drive.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Where UK within half an hour or whatever, you're there. Which leads me on to next year. So hopefully I'm flying over to the US around April, May. Then I'll do 2 months there. Then I'll be back in the UK. So I hope I'm going to get the opportunity to do 30 East Drive, and I wanted to do Walton Hall, but that's closed now apparently, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they don't. The owners, we were the last team to go in on what our class as a permitted visit. So our Halloween special in 2021 was the last ever full investigation any team's ever done in there, because I think the owners wanted to fall down. Sadly, it's a Grade 1 listed building, which here in the UK, that's to put that into context for Liverpool, the Albert Dock is Grade 1 listed. The Metropolitan, the Anglican Cathedral is Grade 1 listed. Liverpool Town Hall is Grade 1 listed. Walton Hall is Grade 1 listed. But because it's privately owned, they're just waiting for it to fall down so they can demolish it, and the land's worth far more. So yeah, unfortunately, we can't even. We still know the people that could get us in, but we still can't get in because we've kept in touch with them, because obviously we put it out there as a positive thing. If you watch closely on our Walton Hall ones, John, we don't even mention Walton Hall because the old the caretaker, lovely gentleman called John Hibbert, used to own Walton Hall. So back when I was going to video my mate's 18th birthday, John's there as the compere when Carl gets his cake brought out. There's John in his finery, and then you fast forward, it's years, and it's there's John again showing us around, and it's he said it breaks his heart to see how that building is now. So sadly, I wish I could turn around and say I could pull some strings because it's such a phenomenal experience in there. But I mean, you never know. If something might happen in the next 12 months, and we could help you out there.
No.
Ancient Ram is one you've got to do, though.
Yeah, that's on your list. Ancient Ram, Fairly Stress Drive, and then I want to do...
Ancient Ram's not that expensive either, that's the joy of it.
Yeah.
Fair play to John Humphrey's daughter, Caroline, and Xana and the guys there. They make it so affordable for small teams like us to hire it exclusively, because they look at the size of your YouTube channel, and they do it the fair way. If you've got 500,000 subscribers and they can see you're getting 100,000 views, you can afford to pay more to hire that building for the night.
Yeah.
If you're the likes of ourselves and you're pushing 500 views of video, they really do. The Ancient Ram it's such a brilliant location, and they are showing how you can look after the paranormal community and keep people coming through the door week after week because you're so cheap.
Absolutely. I'll come back on to that point in a sec. Chillingham Castle, any thought of doing that?
Again, it's that, isn't it?
Yeah.
The UK is getting more expensive.
Yeah. Well,
we are fortunate because you could stick a pin, obviously, in Liverpool, and then draw sort of a 2-hour radius around. And I think the furthest we have been is the Ancient Ram, which is just about 3.5 hour drive away. But there's so much within our sort of 2-hour kind of remit where we probably wouldn't go over that to go and film, because otherwise then you're probably forking out having to stay over and things like that, and factoring that in. But yeah, I mean, we discussed probably about 2 years ago that we wanted to move into Wales and do a whole castle sort of themed kind of series, because obviously Wales being so close, it's absolutely full of them. But yeah, we just don't seem to have found the time. But probably within the next year, and I keep saying this every year, there will be a good fair few episodes based around the history of castles.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing it. And you touched base, about the cost. Let alone the cost on the equipment. The cost to get these locations over here is just crazy. And they don't look at our YouTube channel audience. It's like, bang, now it's this. Like I contacted a couple of jails the past couple of days, and some run anywhere from $600 to $1,400 for 4 hours. So I'm not sure what it is over there, but you're talking £800 for a 4-hour slot.
Yeah, I think it is quite similar, and it's always one of them with locations. At some places that we've been, trying to explain that if the paranormal wasn't there, your building would be closed.
Yeah,
and
100%.
No one would be there, and you wouldn't be making money. Whereas a paranormal team comes in, you let them in. They want it to be dark, so we're not really using too much electricity unless they're putting the kettle on. And your buildings just get an extra revenue. So why would you not want to sort of explore that, especially if, like Chris and I, you know, we're fully insured. We're professionals of what we do, and and what we try and do as well with the events that we hold is that we're not really making much money. You know, we're not an events team. We've done this to try to bring the paranormal to people. So we'd always look at a venue, think, right, what is it sort of the minimum ticket price that we could charge? And we've always tried to charge people about £30 to £40 to see these locations, and not pack it out like other sort of event companies do, because we're not all about making money. We'd have about 18 to 20 people at most, so we can split it in half. You've got a nice little group of 10, and they can have a genuine paranormal investigation and an experience.
Look, and that's it. Like we've made, just myself and another guy, and that's why we stay to the locations. You know, I'm not bringing a team of 6 or 7, and they go, "Oh, we don't care." You know, we get 20, 30, 40,000 visitors a year. We don't need you to come out here. It's like, well, yeah, we'll soon see in a couple of years' time, you know.
Well, that's it. Well, we've just hired for next year Shrewsbury Prison for an event. And we had to hire it for an event because it's 4 figures to hire it. And if you want to film, because we do like to film, if we go to a location for the first time and it's an event, we do try to film it. And then our next 2 episodes on the channel is 2 fan event episodes. But it was an extra £600 added on to that already 4 figures, mid 1,000 range. It was an extra £600 if we wanted to hold 2 camcorders and carry them around with us all night, or if we wanted to just film on our mobile phone. So because we won't pay that extra, we can take photographs, but we're not allowed to film anything in the whole night on the terms of our agreement of going there. And you're kind of thinking, again, it's, you know, what they need to look at us as a channel and say, we're not huge, but look at the quality of the edit. And if you would have allowed us in with our cameras, then what you are going to get from that is some brilliant publicity. Just in the same way, they're more than happy for Most Haunted to go in there with a bleeding boom mic and 70 people and claim there's a tap on the wall over there, but you turn around and you've got 7 crew standing there with microphones and headphones and big boxes and everything, because they're obviously getting the publicity, because Most Haunted will always get 100,000 to 200,000 views on whatever they put out. We'll always get that. But I think that's the frustration. We're all about the location. We're filming this Friday I can't say the location because no one's gonna know. We're filming in Rain Hill, which you'll know yourself. And we were asked to go to this old pub, which is called Manor Farm, and it's a 400-year-old sandstone building. It's got legitimate ghost sightings in there. One as recent as 6 weeks ago, when the new owners actually, experienced something themselves. But they've asked us to come in based on our reputation. They've asked us for no money because they see the benefit of all of a sudden we put out a quality episode, multi-cameras. We'll start publicising it the day after we filmed, and we've got a great contact at the Liverpool Echo, and she'll make sure that there's an article run on it, and all the trolls can jump on with the comments. But the forefront of the article is the building, and if it gets people popping in, curiosity. If it gets other teams popping in, phoning up, saying, can we hire it? Make your money off them. Give us it for free because you've asked us to come in, but make your money off them because we've put you out there now as a paranormal location. And if more did that and started to kind of go, okay, as you just said, John, there's only 2 of you, so okay, can you do $100 each, £100 each? And it's kind of like, well, if it's a massive location, the ancient ram cost us £70 each, and and that's just phenomenal because it cost us more in petrol and snacks than it did to actually hire the location. I think to get petrol getting there and back was more than the location hire.
It's like 14 hours as well. That was
exactly East Drive, when you get there, by the way, you get it from 6 o'clock tea time to 12 midday the following day, so you can actually, it's your B&B for the night as well.
Okay, that's interesting. I can't believe the Ancient Ram was that cheap. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's worth contacting them, honestly. I mean, the last time we contacted, they hadn't changed that, because they want to keep it alive. They want to keep people going in there. And the best way to do that is make it affordable. And then, you go in, you get all that time. You have the surreal experience of sitting in John's room on John's old sofa with a cuppa and a plate of hobnobs, and just again, you have your chance to sit and just let the building just wrap itself around you, and I think that's one of the joys of it,
for sure. And it's what frustrates me about how much these venues are charging, because they say, okay, well, it's going to cost you $1,000 for 4 hours, and then it's going to cost you another $200 per hour for as long as you're there, and then you start looking at your content, because I like to interview either a guide or an owner and tell our hide and seekers about the location before anything. But you do that, there's 2 hours gone, before you even get into anything. And then you're setting up cameras and whatnot. So it costs absolute fortune. And, people just don't understand how much time and money you put into it.
No, especially if obviously sort of similar to us, what you're doing there, and obviously interviewing them. And then that's sort of, it's their chance to shine, their chance to go, right, why should people come and visit this fantastic building? And they can sell their location and give all the history and give it in probably far better detail than, any of us ever could, because they've been there that long or they own it. So that's what worked really well for us in our pub series, because it was over lockdown that we did it. The landlords had sort of a chance to go, well, you want to get back in here, we've got this, we've got that. And at forefront, it was the location. And obviously the paranormal then was second to that, because we had always, as like with now, we're always willing to help people out.
Absolutely. And again, it's the way we're going to grow. Can you see yourself coming over to Australia, or?
Oh, I'd love to. I mean, there's interesting. I'm sort of in between work at the minute, and obviously there's always a dream of teaching down there one day, or things like that. But I know Chris is going to say no because he hates spiders. There's no way he's going to be leaving.
Yes, the wife doesn't like snakes as well, so no, it's
you got no chance.
The haunted Scouse will become over there. Alive, the dual live, it's stupid o'clock.
Yeah. So you wouldn't even come out just to investigate it, or?
I mean, again, for me, I'd love to come and live out there. I'd love to work out there. I'd love to investigate out there, and it's the same with most countries. But it's having families and things. It's kind of throws everything sort of it's just difficult to do.
Yeah.
With 2 young kids, they kind of take up all your time and take up all your money as well.
For sure.
I think on my side of it, I think Wales or the home nations is the closest, the furthest I'll travel. It's because for my own situation, just to touch on, my daughters about one's nearly 18 and one's just turned 16. But mine and Suzanne's 16-year-old has autism and a mental disability. So it's like balancing all this anyway with all that. Guys, I mean, we can't even get Grace to go on a 2-hour car journey without her getting fed up. So it's we have a limit on how far we can go in the car on holiday. But yeah, I mean, listen, that's it. When you do something like this, it's always the dream. It's that. Somebody drops that golden ticket and says, we want to fly you here, there and everywhere and do a 8-part series, and then you come home after 8 weeks or whatever, knackered, but like, wow, okay, that's that done. So it's I'll keep buying those lottery tickets. You never know.
For sure, absolutely. Like I say, it's just it's just so big country. Just the time and the travel is just crazy, and I said earlier, that's why I envy you guys so much. Well, fellas, we've been going now for an hour, so I think I've took up far too much of your time. I really appreciate you jumping on and giving us a bit of an insight of how obviously you and Scouse go about doing their investigations. And I'd love to, obviously when I go over there next year, catch up in person, and hopefully we can do a collaboration maybe Phineas West Drive or
100%.
something.
Yeah, you let us know the dates, mate. We'll sort something out. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Was going to say, definitely hit us up when you're over here, and whether it be somewhere local or we've always got somewhere up our sleeve that we can maybe go out and film some content. So most definitely.
Yeah, excellent. And look, if you ever fancy jumping on a plane, coming over for a holiday, hit me up, and I'll obviously return a favour.
Most definitely, I'll be leaving my two there with you, so I'm going to hold you to that.
Well, Hide and Seekers, there you have it. What a fantastic podcast. Again, we got Chris and Adam from Haunted Scouse. Do me a favour, show your appreciation by jumping on the YouTube, like, subscribe, and share, and make sure you hit that notification bell. Also, you got other social media as well, so check out the YouTube channel and follow them on Facebook also. Fellas, thank you very much, and really appreciate your time.
No, cheers, John. Thanks a lot, mate.
No problem. Well, Hide and Seekers, that's it for now. Remember, every Wednesday, 7 p.m, we have our live podcast. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.